Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Beyond the Nexus. Very first episode. My name is Visions. Alongside me, I got the beautiful Beatdown.
Hello.
How's it going, man?
Dude, I'm doing great. I was chilling all day.
Love that.
And yesterday too, because we had veteran in for the week. So it was really nice to just like watch and be a fan for the week. And especially like, I was in Twitch chat a little bit lurking. So for you trash talkers.
He's watching, dude. He's been taking notes. He's got names, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
That he's been sending me, so he's got you guys on a list. Just to give you guys a quick rundown of the show in general, it'll be a lot of, just talking about our thoughts over the last couple of days. We've obviously been casting just about every single match up until this point here within the last 5 weeks. And now we're just here to give you guys a little bit of additional content, talk to you as well. So if at any point in time you guys want to answer, or rather ask some questions here in the first little bit of the show, we will be picking out questions and we will be answering them. So anything that you want to ask us or just anything generically, feel free, put it in there. We'll be monitoring the chat here right in front of us. But for now, I mean, let's just get right into it, man. Like, what has it been like so far for the LFL for you personally? Because we've obviously been prepping pretty much consistently, every single day. So I mean, this is obviously something that's been really new here to Toronto, new here to Northern Arena. So what's it been for you so far?
It's been pretty cool. I've had only few experiences casting because most of what it is is random contracts, one-off tournaments.
Yeah, sure.
Whether it's for random leagues that don't do a whole lot of work, or stuff like Proving Grounds for NA Amateur.
Yeah.
But it's really cool doing the actual league experience where it's it's the same teams week in, week out, playing every week, double round robin, and then you get to this later point in the game where it's playoff implications. You have so much story to talk about, so much experience with these players.
Definitely.
And it's honestly, I've only ever done it once before, and it is my favorite thing because it's so cool. Not only just talking about the same players over and over again, you do watch the story. Start to finish here, even if it is an ERL, even if it is a smaller region. It's always super exciting for me just to watch teams from week one all the way till finals and to see all right, how did we get there?
Yeah, the entire story.
Love it.
Yeah, it's been really cool. For me, I think in particular, the most interesting part, and it's probably why the majority of the people are watching the LFL right now, has been watching over Reckless.
There,
you know what I mean?
A feeling, yep.
Because I think a lot of you guys at home don't realize that a lot of us before casters, we're fans first, and it's something that is really difficult to balance when you're on air because you don't want to be a biased caster, talk up Reckless, talk up K-Corp. But there's also a side of you where it's wow, well, I watched Fnatic for the last 8 years when they were with that Huni Reignover, original squad, Yellow Star, Febibin. That's what got me into competitive League of Legends. And then you watch that entire story of Reckless being the face of Fnatic for, all of those years, rooting for that team, to the point where an opportunity like this comes up locally, and all of a sudden you're casting over him. And it's it's a really interesting, I guess, kind of concept to fully fathom. But I think it's been really cool, man. It's been, like you said, it's been really fun to at least follow along and learn all these stories behind a lot of the players so far. I think that's my favorite part. Dude,
and literally at some point we are gonna get guests and stuff like that. Players to come talk to us. Hopefully, coaching staff. Hey, if you're watching this, we want to talk to you. It would be even cooler too to just get the story from them.
From them,
and it's stuff we can be referencing, stuff we can just have a better understanding of, because that's what we want. We want the players to be as understood as we could probably convey.
Yes.
And anytime they talk to us and give us the information, whether it's Twitter DMs, whether it's coming on the show, whatever the case may be, is great for that. And that's a big part of it.
It's definitely been a fun time so far for us.
Oh, yeah.
But let's dive right into it, man. Let's get into it because it's been a really interesting way with the standings and the teams. I mean, the beginning of the season, we expected K-Corp to basically just be slapping around everybody.
Yeah.
That was the build-up, especially just with one of the best AD carries of all time coming over, Cabashard, and then just the history behind KC. K-Corp, they've been good so far, period, in the LFL, since joining in. And last year, obviously, they came off of an incredible showing, then going to a point where all of a sudden it's 2-4. Oh no! Right before Nice with the crowd and that entire experience, and it feels since then they've definitely turned a new leaf and they've turned things right around.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's only been 1 week since Nice, but it does seem like they've really gotten it together. And as much hype as we gave the rosters, I guess the way I see it, this is definitely retroactive, and I wouldn't have guessed this at the start. But it's a thing you start to learn with teams and how okay, look, when you look at the individual players in K Corp, from the ones we know with like tier 1 experience, like Cabo Shark, like Reckless, obviously, and stuff
Yeah.
like that, it's not as simple as like, you know, Lego, where you're just plugging and playing pieces and then the whole figure or the picture or whatever the case is there, right? It's not like you just
Yeah,
put the
no.
puzzle together. There's a lot of stuff that ends up going through, and it's why I give a lot of leeway to Misfits at the moment here, because even though they have been looking better, like ultimately a lot of good individual pieces, but you put 4 new players on a team, that's 4 new voices,
Yeah.
4 new personalities,
That's fair.
whether big or small. So I always think to myself, okay, what's the process looking like, integrating it? Part of it's up to the players, a lot of it's up to the coaching staff to make that stuff work, you know. And now it seems like going into like what was it, last week was week 4 in
Week
Nice.
4, yeah.
So it seems like K Corp are finally clicking.
Yeah, they're finally clicking. They're getting there. I think that it's been really interesting to see them play through multiple lanes, and that was
Yeah.
after drafting the Aphelios today, where
That was weird,
Reckless
yeah.
is not one to typically ever fall behind in CS. Like, I think everyone knows, like, the narrative around Reckless is the fact that, like, he's a passive player.
Yep.
He will farm. If he gets to late game, you can rely on him to have the positioning to be your big backline carry, right? Like, that's something that has just always been there for Reckless.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting to see them kind of sometimes leave Reckless on an island, even when he's not on these Ezreal picks, and actually play through Cabochard, which today, obviously,
Yeah.
the Lee Sin was
crazy.
exceptional, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's the only one that's actually played this Lee Sin top after we had it almost every single game at World Meta. He's still opting into playing, and he's still performing really well on it, but it's also because of the team that's setting him up for this, right? Like, it's 113 who's coming up here, setting up these level 3
Disgusting,
dives.
dude.
Hantera, you know, leaving Reckless in the bot lane to go and make sure that they're setting up these dives, controlling the vision, making it very difficult for the Gangplank to play. So, I mean, I've really been at least enjoying the fact that they're being flexible in these best of ones, and they're not just like play through bot like every single other team.
Yeah.
Because the time you get to playoffs, you need to have that kind of flexibility. Sometimes in order to win best of 5s.
Oh, definitely. And like seeing multiple looks from them probably bodes pretty well for them later on,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
now that they have been turning it up. And it's funny too, because like when I VOD review K Corp sometimes, like with some friends, other color casters, they're starting to see like the 113 hype, and then
Oh, for
I've
sure.
been getting
He's
a couple
insane,
of
dude.
comments. Yeah, they're like, okay, this 113 guy, he's pretty sick, and I'm like, yeah, he's 17, and they're like, what?
What? Yeah, it
Yeah,
hits,
yeah.
right? It's like that
It
same. We
does.
had the same interaction at the beginning of the league. We're like,
Yeah, true.
17, and I was like, dude, I can't wait to see what this kid becomes because
Yeah.
he's so young and he's so good so far.
He's got hands, confident. Like it's been fun. That's why, like in the beginning too, like when we watched the show matches, watched a bit of. Well, he wasn't on the team last year, but
Yeah.
watching the show matches and watching K Corp and other teams last year overall, we had a lot of hype. Just being like, okay, look, yeah, you know, the team needs some time to gel. A lot of things need to come together and stuff like that. But when I see players like who are 17 years old, like they have hands and they play like super aggressive, super confidently, and they make these plays work. They're not afraid to try. They're not afraid to try stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I love, because a thing I don't like, and will end up criticizing players and teams for, is not trying things.
Not trying to be proactive.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
the
like
worst.
that.
There's nothing worse than watching a team just slowly bleed out. We're going to concede this dragon. We're going
Yeah.
to concede this tower. We're going to concede this Rift Herald. Okay, are you going to play League of Legends? Like, you know what I mean? You have to start
Yeah.
asking that question.
Yeah.
And I do think that at least the majority of the teams in the LFL will try to be proactive, even if they don't execute. Like, I think Veteran hit on it today on the cast where he had said, like, hey, listen, they went for the play. It didn't work out, but I like the idea, right?
Yeah.
It's the
Agreed.
structure around the play that you're always trying to develop week after week to become a top team. And if you don't execute, you don't execute. But if you never try for it, you never will execute. Period. So
Yeah.
it's really nice to see at least every single team be fairly competitive, no matter what the day. Maybe besides one, but you know, for the most part, the 9 teams that we do have in the league right now can contest the top of the leaderboards, which I think is definitely something good to have. I do see you guys asking in chat. Yes, this is live. This is not pre-recorded. We're doing this right after the broadcast, so feel free to answer or ask questions in the chat. We will be picking them out here as we go. But as we kind of keep this conversation going here, Beatdown, who's been your standout? You've talked about 113, but who have you really kind of like, dude, this guy, like, how is he not in the LEC? How is he not in pro play? You know what I mean? Like who's been that
okay.
standout?
One player who I think should be in the LEC. I think despite BD, I think Scarlet probably
Ooh, I like
comes
that.
on in line, just because I think like he's been really good. Not just on like the Zerath, just on like whatever
Yeah.
champions you end up putting him on. I think Tanks has been good. It's interesting because I feel bad for some of the players who were in LEC for like a split. When I think of like Tinks, Cabochard, Checolad, those are all players who I saw. Like I remember Checolad when he was on XL, and I actually thought like he was pretty good. And I think all those players, in one way or another, did actually end up performing pretty well.
Sure.
It's just too bad that they didn't end up, staying on the team. Things aren't working. You got to make changes. I get that kind of stuff. But now at least they're back in the LFL, which is like it's the biggest ERL, right?
Yeah.
So this is a good way for them to get back into the league.
Sure.
This is a really long-winded way of me saying Scarlet.
Scarlet.
And also, I'm telling you right now,
good, man.
I'm telling you right now, Keo, by the end of the split, he's gonna be nuts, bro.
Yeah, you keep saying that.
I do. I feel it.
I'm like half in there. I'm like 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Today, dude, today was not fair.
Oh, what is the race today from the mind here? Yeah,
No,
see,
no,
like,
we're not gonna race it. I'm gonna give it context because I said it before we went live too. Because you picked Camille Zinn. My whole thing with Gwen, and this is a great way we can transition after too. Because the thing I don't like about letting Gwen through, because she's just turbo astro broken, is the fact that okay, fine, you're gonna let her through. What are you gonna do? So many teams we see, whether it's here, whether it's LCS, whether it's any amateur, whatever, academy, people will leave Gwen up and then they will pick Orange, being, okay, don't worry, we scale. But the problem is Gwen gets just an easy laning phase, and that's
a free laning phase.
unacceptable.
Yeah.
Like, because we keep seeing what happens when she is allowed to just farm. She gets 20 CS up, one singular gank comes through, and then it's just done. It's just done. You'll see what Shigenda did today earlier on. You see what it's unreal.
It is unreal. The fact that the champion got through in the way that it did so many times today, and then we got to see the same thing over and over again. Even after yesterday, like I thought after Chachi just going rogue yesterday, like 1v9ing, I thought that was going to be the point where people are like, okay, we got to ban it. We just got to like don't let the top laner get it. It's too strong of a pick right now. Until we see nerfs in future patches, it's just going to be something that you just have to take away because. We have seen just so much pressure, and teams have tried to shut it down after the laning phase, right? Where we saw it today, where it's like, okay, now we'll send 2-3 people in here, and then it's like, well, it's too late. It's too late.
That was like the concern I had, because I know Camille is not great in isolation with Gwen. So during the Solary game, I was thinking, okay, you got Camille, you have Zinj out. That's a good way to like. If you gank, if you get a good hook shot, everything else, you can set Gwen behind. You can force TPs out. If you end up rediving, making another play, you can force them to lose a lot of gold and XP. If you set them behind in a reasonable way, I think there's ways for you to kind of omit them from the game because you delay that really strong like 2-item power spike.
Yeah.
But like leaving her alone on that island is really dangerous. And like I think you said it yourself a lot that you want teams to play more towards topside. Especially Mirage. I know you say that one a lot.
Dude, play around Bad Lulu.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been. Here it goes. I know. I've been jokingly throughout the broadcast just throwing out these like vision stats and stuff like that, right? Yeah. Like just for fun, where I'll have a stat that it could be true, but it's not fact checked. Like my vision stat for Bad Lulu is I don't think Memento has ganked him once. I don't think he's been ganked once. He might have, come out.
That's a vision stat, but that's really close to being true, I think.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, he might have actually come up there, matched the gank potentially. Could have been some 2v2s. But the point really being is the fact that Memento does not come up there. He has a lot of proximity around mid. He comes down to the bot lane. He's obviously playing around Cody's son, specifically when he's on this Aphelios. And you usually have an engager from Raxo. He loves his Nautilus. That's kind of just been his, his pick.
I think today was Thresh, but
Thresh might have come in. That's right. But he loves these kind of hook champions. So I think Bad Lulu is one of the best top laners, if not the best top laner.
He's up there, definitely.
With the way that he plays the lane. I think today he did get shut down pretty heavily on the Renekton matchup. It didn't look like he was comfortable into the Gragas. I mean, he almost got solo killed. If the explosive cast had actually hit, there could have been an opportunity at finding it.
That's tough. Yeah, I guess it's the Renekton pick maybe because he didn't seem like he was too comfortable on it. Maybe he hasn't played it like too much.
Yeah.
But also like you have a Renekton lane. They didn't really play to him very much. Like again, the vision stat Memento doesn't spend a lot of time on the top lane. It's a lot of bot, a lot of mid covering Rungjun.
Yeah.
No matter what he is playing, so you do end up making it hard because there was dive potential there. You could dive Ragnar at some point. I can't remember what jungle they had, but it was something aggressive enough. Even if it was a Viego, they could do something.
After the G2 outplay, Fnatic outplay now from one day.
That's what it was.
Everyone's like, all right, we're going to leave this Gragas up here. No, don't restack the wave. We're not going to send our mid laner up here. It's just let it be. We'll just farm it out, guys. We'll play the mid. We'll play the bot.
I guess so.
Yeah, we'll blame it on Wonder.
But but it sucks. Like, then what are you going to do? Like, you going to ban the Gragas or play for the because dude, Renekton after like 15 minutes, like what's he doing?
Unless he's super far ahead, I mean,
Yeah.
he needs to find flank angles. And to be fair,
Yes.
Bad Lulu was trying to set them up, but I think it was just
Yeah.
a really good job of making sure that he was never able to find them. So that
Yeah.
was definitely big. Question here for us, Beatdown.
Okay.
How do you feel about Vitality's roster, I assume is what he means? Are they going to stay at the top of the league? What do you think? How do you feel about Vitality right now?
I think Vitality are good. I think they're pretty good. I really like Shigenda as a top laner. He was also in the LEC for a little bit,
Yes,
and I think
he
he
was.
was dope.
He's been solid.
Yeah, I think Vitality could stay at the top. The interesting thing, too, is that they've been playing better lately, and the thing that's about Skeens was one of my biggest concerns, because the big thing I talk about a lot is like early jungle pathing.
Yeah.
Things that bother me is that we're in this meta where the big three, Lee Sin, Xin Zhao, Viego, sometimes Trundle gets in there, stuff like that, Jarvan, stuff like that, where you need to be ganking, you need to be doing stuff early on. And before, I didn't see a lot of that from Skeens, and to be fair, I didn't see a lot of it from who was Shio from BDSA. He's another jungler who I would bust on a lot. Yeah.
Yep.
Very passive. But today, credit to Shio, he did that. Skeens also pretty good in the early game as well. And I think if they manage to keep developing like that, and teams like LDLC, who's seeming like they're a lot shakier than they were in the first couple weeks, I do think Vitality could stay at the top. I think now that we're back to another round robin, Vitality haven't played LDLC again, but that's a matchup I'm actually most interested in, because it feels like Vitality or B are coming together.
The one thing I will say about Vitality is I think they have the most experience in the league with all the players that they have on this team.
Yeah, like four former LEC players.
Yeah, 4 former LEC players. Jack Troll.
Jack's
been around for God knows how long now.
I got to think about Jack Troll later, but yeah, he's good.
Yeah, like he's very solid, very good. My whole thing with Jack Troll is the fact that he is a huge part of this team's success in the way that, sometimes he can be the sword they fall on with the way that, he's unable to set up the plays. He goes a little too deep. He gets caught. Like today, I think was a good example of it with the Braum at times. But, sometimes he's playing this Thresh. I think they're flawless when they have Thresh. And, he's playing around his AD carry. He's giving the lanterns. They've been really good. But they've also been like one of the few teams that have successfully played like a 1-3-1 composition and have actually won and used the side lane pressure, because it's so interesting when you think back to like seasons past where like side lane pressure was always a big thing, but with the changes that we've gotten like over the seasons and over the years, it feels like there's a lot of things in place to stop you from having that kind of success, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that you can take 2 TPs on your solo lanes, and just also with the way that kind of just the Baron works, where it's like you want to split push, we'll start Baron, we'll force out the TP, and now your split push champion is forced to fight with us, and that's not sometimes a situation you want to be in when we see this Fioras that we saw a little bit earlier on in the season and stuff like this. So it's a little bit interesting, but I do think Vitality, I guess to answer your question, we kind of danced around it, but to answer it, like I do think Vitality will be at the top of leaderboards by the end of the season. I think they have looked the most convincing, as much as sometimes their mid games are slow, and I'm asking Beatdown like, hey, how's your day going, dude? Like, there's definitely times where you can see their control. They understand what needs to be done to win, and they're not just going to force the entertainment to do so. They're going to play correctly, and they're going to play League of Legends right.
Yeah, I like Jeskla too, honestly, as an AD carry. I think he's been really good as well, standout player.
Agreed.
Yeah, Vitality B, I think they're looking really good. It's interesting too, because I haven't taken a look at the record today after all the after this week's matches actually. So I'm interested to see what the standings are. I mean, judging by that question, I assume Vitality B are number 1, and I think what are they 6-3 now? So it's not surprising that they are there. So when I think about top teams like them, LDLC, BDSA, I guess depending on the day. To be fair, like they played Oplon today, so that's a dub.
Yeah, pretty much.
BDSA are ones that are worrying me just a little bit. I mean, again, Shio is like part of that concern where I don't see a whole lot of action in the early game. Where and like, man, I'm not trying to flame or call people out. I'm just like, this is just kind of like, I don't know what comms are like, because sometimes laners call for ganks, sometimes laners call them off. That's the thing too. We're saying that okay, they're not looking for this angle, or no, this doesn't look good. I don't know where enemy jungle. I don't know. There could be reasons.
Definitely.
I think it is tough though. When you're playing things like Lee, Xin, and Jarvan, nothing's happening in the early minutes. That's how your champ operates, though. So maybe it's a team thing, but like, later on, like that stuff's not gonna really work. Especially like when we think about K Corp. Right now, as of these last 2 weeks, I think they're the most active in the early game, which is kind of insane because, like, to be fair, like we're looking at the show match again, and I reference it a lot because it was our best look at this K Corp roster going into the split, and it did give us a good amount of what our expectations were for the team, right? So what happens is that, okay, they're very active on the map. Seiken, when he gets TF, the dude is a nutter. He's just all over the place. It's unreal, out of lane all the time, and just affecting other. And he does it on Rise too.
He does.
So I'm thinking in the first couple of weeks, okay, where is this? What happened? Except for that BDSA game where Aggressivu didn't log in.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was tough, man.
That was tough. Okay. That was. I'm sorry. That was a jungle diff. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, we have like mixed. I think we have mixed opinions on this one because I do think that the first dive that came through, for anyone that doesn't remember this, it was when Aggressivu got dove twice on Gnar in the top lane. Is when they first picked Renekton. It was when K-Corp basically put all their focus top.
Yes.
The first dive, I will say, yes, I think Shio needed to be there.
Yes.
He should have understood the map. The second dive, I don't think is his fault after the TP, and it's hard because you have to listen to the comms in that situation.
True.
But I have to imagine, at least, you have to put yourself in the player's perspective, not in the caster perspective or the spectator perspective, where we have the complete outline of the entire map. We have all the vision, we have all the knowledge, we have all the info. Seiken did roam from mid in that instance. He came up, and about halfway through, I think you're thinking, if you're BDSA, okay, Seiken's probably running back to lane, doesn't want to miss this wave. Kill came through already,
that's true.
but they still don't have the vision on him, so Shio stays on his Krugs. And the TP comes through, Aggressivu's still level 2, and Seiken is actually, in fact, there, comes through, finds the kill, and Shio's like, oh, snap.
Okay, but here's the thing. If he covered the first dive, Aggressivu would have still been in the game. Because even if you stop the dive, that's more of what I mean. Like you got a point. The second dive isn't as much his fault, but I think when you pick Gnar into Renekton Lee Sin was like a really strong top jungle duo, really like skirmish heavy early. I think on wave 3, on wave 3 you got to cover top lane. You got it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the first dive, his fault, should have been there, should have been watching, should have had vision at least for him. Didn't. It's just the second one I think is unfortunate. Aggressive was like, I'm just going to TP back here. It's fine.
He was
we'll be okay.
at the time,
He's probably in the comms like, it's okay, it's fine. And then she was like, oh my God, I'm on Krugs and you're getting dove again. And Seiken didn't come back to mid. So it was a really good play by K-Corp. And they won the game off that play.
They did.
And I think that's, kind of what we're getting to is the fact that K-Corp can win the game in the first 5-10 minutes of the game. We saw it versus Game Ward, I want to say, when they dove bottom when Inax was playing Senna. And Lee Sin.
We were actually talking about that earlier.
Were we? Yeah.
While you were casting me, Ravi, and Sierra, we're talking about it. I don't remember why it came up, but like it was the last time Senna was picked.
Ah, that's what it was.
Because we saw Senna pick today.
And it was shut down. And they first picked it that game too. Remember that?
I think Jin was still available, which I thought was weird.
Because Inax loves it.
Dude, Inax is so good on it.
That's his go-to.
But it's an example, like you said, K-Corp really strong in the early game, and that's kind of how, again, we got onto some tangents, but kind of more of the point where, the early game is such a big deal, and that's why BDSA, even though I think they're like a top team, if the early game stays this way, stays passive, it's going to be kind of hard for them, especially into the playoffs when you are going to be facing teams like K-Corp who are just really active in the early game. Vitality, who are starting to get up there as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Very interesting so far. Winning the game in the first 10 minutes is not something a lot of teams can do.
No.
But they're one of them. They're one of them right now, and a lot of it's to do with 113. He does not. He's level 3. Like, if I'm on the other team playing against 113, I'm like, okay, this guy's probably 3 camp guys. Like,
you got to
ward
know
behind you. Don't ward in front of the drive rush. Like, watch the dive. Watch the dive. And it makes it really interesting from the jungler's point of view at times where you have to predict what he's doing, especially in this league where you get a lot of you're just leashing yourself, like or rather you're just solo starting and you're not getting a leash period. So it's a lot of just like trying to get either early vision down so that you have an idea of the pathing, which I think there's a lot of really good wards from the mid laners that we typically see on the Raptor camp right away, just to get that early insight.
Kind of
where is he?
Where
What's
are they?
he
How many
gotten
camps?
so far?
Oh, that's looking like a Gromp buff. He's going for the next buff.
That's right. So it's so critical to get those in, especially against 113. But something else that they tend to do a lot, Beatdown, is like they'll just invade. Specifically when they're on blue side, they'll invade red side into the blue buff. They've done this 3 or 4 times. Sometimes it doesn't work out and they're actually forced off of it. But they do it so often to the point where it's like they're not just putting behind and threatening the dive early at level 3, but they're also putting behind the jungler on the other end where he feels like he sometimes can't match it. And I can only wonder. I don't think he did it today, but he definitely did it yesterday. Like I'm just like in the jungler's point of view, you're like, damn, I'm already behind. I've lost my blue buff. Do I go and counter? Do I play the opposite side? If I split the map, he might dive bot, and I'm pretty sure that's what they did. Seiken had roamed on the Aurelion Soul yesterday.
Yes.
It was against Oplon in fairness, but still, it was just the execution on the play.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that I think was it was still a really good game from KC,
Yeah.
and I think that was one of the games where, I mean, like it sounds like we're just like saying this to be nice, but there are definitely games where I think to like myself like, okay, wow, Alpine can really win this game, and I thought that was one of them just because like they had like a really good front to back. You had Darlic on the Malphite, who. You needed to ult Jinx, man. I know I was tilted. I was kind of tilted last night when we were talking about it. But like you just gotta ult Jinx, and if you take Jinx out of the fight, like that gold league does end up being meaningless, and you have a way in. My point is they find themselves where they draft, honestly, I think decently well.
They do.
They get themselves into these situations where I think it's like winnable.
Yeah.
But they just can't really close it out. It's tough. Like they got gutted going into the spring split.
Yeah.
Well, they have like one returning player.
One returning player.
I think it's just Darlic, no?
It is just Darlic after they advance, and then the entire league just picked that roster apart. And I don't remember who went where and who was on.
Some players who are on other teams, yeah.
But there were definitely some solid players that got picked apart, and
you could see why they managed to promote.
You could see why for sure. Here's another question about K-Corp matches. They use the same plan in each match. Do you think they will be countered soon? Will teams start to find a way to be able to solve the whole level 3 1-1-3s dive in a lane? It's just a matter of which one.
Maybe. The thing is, it's kind of tough. I don't know necessarily if you can counter the play. Because you kind of mentioned about junglers being able to read each other's pathing. I think it depends heavily on like the jungle matchup for one thing.
Sure.
And two, your just ability to read the enemy jungle. I know this is LFL, but the example I always think about with this kind of thing is actually in North American Amateur and Proving Grounds. There's a player on 100 Thieves Next, Fnatic. Dude is an insane jungler, I think, like really talented, and he's probably in amateur. I think he's the best jungler, and he's the smartest jungler from what I've seen. Because this is a guy who, I swear to God, he shows up to almost every gank that the enemy jungler is going for. He's just because like you understand the enemy comp. Okay, jungler is probably looking to play mid here, trying to look here, and he's always there. It's like most of the time he ends up getting the counter gank. It ends up turning in their favor. I think it's a big reason why their early games are so good. And I think that's going to be kind of the thing here. Either your jungler is going to have to have a jungle that can kind of play this matchup, turn these 2v2s into, I thought I turned that down, excuse me, turn those 2v3s into 3v3s, and you can turn them. Like if you were playing into a Lee, you have Xin, or maybe Jarvan, or something along those lines. But also the thing too is you need your laners to understand and respect those timings so that even if you can't match, you get something on the other side of the match. I can't remember the match, but we saw stuff like that happen today too, where bot lane is threatening to dive, your bot lane understands. They're backing up. Yes, they're losing plates. Yes, they're losing some gold and XP.
Yeah.
But a play happened on the other side of the map that ends up being successful. So it's either you match and turn the play, or it's this give and take.
Else. Yeah, for sure. I think to answer that question about will teams find a way to be able to shut it down and counter it, I think we have seen some teams do it. I want to say LVLC ended up shutting 1-1-3 down in the early stages of the game, where Yike was on Viego. He got his comfort pick. On the other end, it was 1-1-3, who also got the Lee Sin. And yeah, he matched the bot lane, gank, I want to say, and they found Huntera, who was flashless because he went to set up the play, and he was just collapsed on as they slow played it and kited back. So I think teams have been able to do it so far. Will they be able to do it consistently?
Yeah.
I don't know, because like you just said, like there's so much that goes into the matchup, the early vision, just all of these things, and also the type of jungler that they are. So it's been a little bit tough, I think, so far for a lot of teams, because you feel like the game's lost in 10 minutes, and then you're forced to make a play, and then you're usually taking fights that aren't usually in your favor, or you don't have the setup and things like this. So I think just K-Corp in general is just really good at suffocating the map, and really good at coordinating their pushing lanes. Like many times, like remember when 1-1-3 got away with the dive on, or sorry, not the dive, the invade on Diana, where
I even said it on cast. I was like, Austin is mauling right now in the back room.
I was mind blown. I was so mind blown.
Because you pro.
Yeah, it's so insane, but they had like a LeBlanc mid, they had like Cabo shot on Renekton top, they coordinate the waves to shove in at the same time, and they just
getting his blue stolen by Diana.
You got to watch it. You got to sit there and be like, is this really happening to me, guys? And I can't come. I'm going to lose the wave.
Yeah.
And all right, I'm going to go to bot side. I'm going to lose my crop too.
Yeah.
Great. It was something that should never happen, but it happened because of the team setup and the coordination. So been very impressed with them so far. I mean, again, I don't think their record is reflective of the type of team that they are.
Especially how they've been playing lately.
Yeah, lately, like I think
4
the
wins in a
crowd
row?
did something.
They've
man.
won every game last week. This week.
That's right. Yeah, I think that was my call. 4 games in a row after they had won, after being 2-4, right? So it went from Okay, we're panicking a little bit okay, we're fine. K-Corp's still at the top. They're still looking good. They just need to make sure they're doing it against the top teams as well. So
Yeah, and that's
I
that's
think
what we're
they'll
going to
get
see. Especially with now we're going back to having a bunch of the rematches. Today was the first day of it. We saw K-Corp and Misfits. They beat them again.
We did.
Now we're going to see. I don't remember the order, but I think they'll play LDLC soon. I think next week they play Mirage, actually, because I remember in the second week, Mirage snuck that win away from them. And I remember last night we were actually talking about it, where this is Mirage's chance to get it back. So that's going to be an interesting one, especially now Mirage, I think, have improved since the first week. The problem is K-Corp have too. And to your point, too, about how it feels like they can win the game in 10 minutes and how coordinated they are. I think that's what makes it hard to come back against them. Because this is a team where, like, it's so wild. If you told me in week 2 that this would happen in, like, week 4, I'd be like, really? Are you sure? I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like they have it. But they've just gotten it together, and to the point where they play pretty clean, pretty controlled, to the point, like, you, as a team, really struggle to actually find your way back in, because they are not just having leads. Because what a lot of people say too, and I agree with this, where it's not good enough to just like have a lead. Even if you have like a really well scaling composition, you need to do something with it. You need to keep up the pressure, continue making plays, whether it's stacking dragons, Rift Herald plays, dives, whatever. As long as you're pushing your gold lead to further advance it instead of hanging back, slowing things down, which is what the enemy team will want. That's how you continue to win games here. And K-Corp, I think, especially these last 2 weeks, have been really good at doing just that. And it's hard. I think LDLC might be the only team at the moment who can beat K-Corp, I think, in their current form. Because I think even though LDLC have been shaky, I think part of it is like they've had some kind of weird drafts, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I don't know. When it comes to like early mid-game, I think they are good. So I think they are probably the team to beat K-Corp as they are now.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. You brought up Mirage.
I did.
And I want to talk about Mirage.
Let's go.
Man.
Okay.
I'm big on this team because I think they're good. Like, I actually think they're good. But the record and their playstyle doesn't always show it. I think a huge part of it is the fact that they've been drafting a lot of full AD compositions. Now, in fairness, it wasn't as bad the time they did it. I think it was yesterday when they had the Yone, right? It wasn't as bad. It was just a Leona that was on the other team, so it's the only one who's really going to stack armor. But there was a lot of tabbies obviously bought, and there was a lot of champions that would be using auto attacks to be able to do damage. But this
that
team
was the Sedge game, right?
I think that was the Sejuani game where Memento rage quit. And then
was that actually what happened?
Well, he didn't rage quit.
Oh, okay,
we just joked, memeing it. You know what I mean? Because it was after he had stolen the red and then died. And then Summoner was disconnected.
Oh, no.
So it was this whole like, oh man. And then there was like the miss Sejuani ultimate bot. And then it was like, we were waiting for it to happen again, right? A Summoner is disconnected. But of course it didn't happen.
Oh, okay, that would have won them the game too. I'm so sad.
But like the question I guess I want to pose is, like, is Memento just digging a little too deep with his champion pool right now? Because he's played like a different champion every single time. He's played the Zac twice. He played the Sejuani. Today he played something else that was not traditional, I want to say as well. I just can't think of it off the top of my head.
Today,
I swear he played
Mirage?
something. Yeah, he played something that was not traditional, I want to say. But like it feels like Memento is maybe reaching a little bit too much with the picks that he's trying to bring in. And I'm just kind of wondering, I don't know, like, how do you feel about this, especially watching, all the games today, seeing Mirage and seeing, like, highs, but also, a ton of lows.
Who did Mirage play today?
Mirage played up against LDLC. And yeah, he got his comfort pick. There was a lot of comfort picks, actually, in that game.
Yeah, okay.
Felios for Cody's son, Hantera, Thresh, I think. Or, sorry, not Hantera, Roxo, Thresh.
Yeah. I think it was Leona they had with the Felios.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you just talked about it was Raxo at Thresh. Yeah, you're right. They have Thresh Aphelios, stuff like that. LDLC, or rather Mirage, I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily bad, especially with how they've had like mixed success. Because usually you change things when things aren't working, more often than not. And I think that's why you're seeing some things come out. That's why we ended up seeing like the Zac come through. Things were you're starting to get a little more creative. And I honestly think Memento is fine.
Oh yeah,
he's pretty good. Even in the games that they've lost, I've seen him like he seems pretty good to me. I just think the team overall probably needs to. This is tough. Like, I'm not a
what's
coach
the identity of that team?
Actually, identity was the word I was thinking of too.
Sure.
Because I think like we know technically what it is. Like they play mid, they play through bot. And Rangjun has a lot of AD picks that he brings out. The Yone is definitely a big one, but it doesn't always seem to be panning out. And they're the team who I think so far have been the most, I guess, rigid, or so far not
It's not polished.
showing that they want to change. It's less about the polish, even though I agree with you, and it's more that we haven't seen them try to play like Bad Lulu. It's the thing like we always end up talking about, because if we look at Bad Lulu in lane, like he's nuts. He's great. He usually, I know one of your vision stats was he has the most solo kills. Honestly, I have a feeling like that's actually, I have a feeling that's actually true, because he is just really good like in lane.
Yeah.
And that game against Solary where he solo killed Kiola probably didn't help, but either way.
Yeah.
My point is that I think you should play for Bad Lulu. I just think just try it out, because playing through top I think is a valid option at the moment, even with bot 2v2 being such a big focus, with unleashed TPs and all that, especially with so many power picks that are available in the top lane. Of course, Gwen being the big one. I think Camille is fine. What else? Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, my look in on them is, I have to imagine like Rangjun is just smurfing on people in scrims with Yone. I think they're drafting Yone, and I think he is just smoking kids in scrims, because there's no reason you're going to bring out, I want to say 3 Yone games now.
I think yesterday was his third.
Yeah, I want to say it's 3. They might have won the first one maybe, but it could have also been a loss.
It was because Memento had Zach. That was the game.
Right. So
they did win that.
So other than that, I'm pretty sure it's 1 and 2. But I want to say this guy is probably just solo killing the mid laner. He's getting pressure. He's 2-3-0, and then they just win through mid, because that's something that you would obviously do in this meta. So that's what I have to imagine. But I agree with you. Like, think of a world where I think today he picked the Ryze, which I thought was really difficult, because how is Ryze ever going to do damage to a Victor Jinx when you have to walk into them? You have to take damage to do damage, which is never a situation you want to be in. Usually as Ryze, you want a lot of melee champions. You want to be able to kite. You want to use your phase rush to dance around. But like, think of a world where he slow stacks the wave. This is obviously, like a really niche situation, but you know what I mean? You get in a spot where you can roam, you go to top lane, you set up the 3-man play onto the top lane, or you get, resources into Bad Lulu, you play around him, you let him start just doing what he does, but with help. And like, then what happens? What happens when you enable a player like Bad Lulu, who has been so exceptional, left on a complete island, might honestly have the least amount of proximity from the jungler than any other jungler in the league, or any other top in the league, rather. So. So I mean, I don't know, man. I want to see. If someone's watching from Mirage, actually, wait. Carl, you can message them. Carl, talk to the coaches. Put some resource into Bad Lulu. Let this guy.
Let him breathe.
Let him fly. You know what I mean?
Wow, I like that.
No, let him fly.
Yeah, it is interesting. I want to see how Mirage. I actually am higher on Mirage than I was at the start of the season, especially just because I think Cody Sun's actually been playing pretty good. Like when I saw him on TSM Academy, what was it, like summer last year? I wasn't too hype with him. Compared to other NA80 carries. But I don't know. He's been okay now, especially when he gets to play the Aphelios. And if they manage to keep getting him on that, it could end up working pretty well. The problem just ends up being still like, what are they doing with the rest of the map? Yeah. What is Memento doing about top lane, which so far it hasn't been a whole lot. But it's probably like a team dynamic that they think they can really work. Maybe it has been going well in scrims. Yeah. It's just about translating it to live play. Which is something you do hear a lot from coaches, to be honest, where it's like, we have good scrim results. We just need to actually put those results on game day. Yeah. And I think it takes a while for them to. It'll probably take a while for them to be like, okay, maybe now we actually need to change things up. This doesn't really work. What can we do now? Sure. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's definitely something that we want to see. It's just a matter of, are we going to get it? Are they going to continue to try to play through bottom? Because I will say, Cody Sun did look a lot better the last couple weeks, but it was only on Aphelios. He only looks good on Aphelios. I think the last 4 games he's played Aphelios. I think so too. One Jinx game yesterday, because he got banned or got taken away. I think they realized, like, hey, this guy's only playing Aphelios. He's looking a little good. Let's just ban it out, get rid of it. And he was forced on a Jinx. He doesn't look good on Jinx. He got 2v2 killed after Mirage were dictating so much of the 2v2 plays. Like, they had 2v2'd someone last week. Oh, it was BDSA, one of the strongest bot lanes in lane that they found a kill on. Wasn't that, where was it? Was that when Crownshot was playing Jinx and Erdote was on Lulu? On the Lulu, yeah. And then he just walked up. He tried to like get the trait, or wanted to get the kill on Cody Sun because the Ignite went down, and then he was poking him out, and then Raxa was like, buddy, I am a Nautilus, and I'm going to hook you in. Dude, so that's the funny thing about this Enchanter meta, where you have a lot of people, dude, the last year, God knows how long, it's just been about the Engagers, your Nautiluses, your Threshes, your Alistars. And then you switch them over to Lulu, they still have tank brain going on, man, where they're like, oh, I'm flashing forward, I'm going to kill the 1 HP 80 carry, and I'm going to walk away. It's like, brother, We're playing Lulu at level 3.
It's not gonna happen. Yeah.
No, like, it's not gonna happen. I've seen it. It's happening a lot in NA2 when people actually play it. It always makes me laugh because it's like, I know you think you're playing a tank right now, but that's not it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, it's been tough, man. It's been tough watching over it, but I think seeing the meta evolve has also been something that's been interesting. Remember when we go back to week 1, week 2, we saw Kennen every single
I was
game,
literally about to make a
right?
joke too about how
Vex,
I'm gonna
all
make a
this.
Lost poster or something. Or like, where's my boy Kennen? Because I'm actually like today. Who was it?
We almost got a hover. Yeah.
It was the
in
hover for
4th or 5th
LDLC.
game.
No, I'm trying to remember what game it was, but I remember just thinking in that scenario where I was like, oh yeah, because I was actually watching it on the way here when I was driving in. 'Cause I wanted to skip traffic. And I was listening. I was kind of looking over at the hover, and I'm like, "Oh, Kennen, yeah, I like that. I like that."
Yeah, let me
I get
see
into
it.
the studio, and I see Gragas. I'm like, man,
Yeah,
into
hands
Gwen?
up in the air, like.
Come on, man. I don't know, like, because Kennen is actually pretty good into Gwen and early late. And it's a
Yeah,
champ who
bullies
can-
her, forces under tower. As long as you have the ability to be able to do it, yeah, you can definitely stop her from getting to a point where
Yeah.
she becomes unstoppable.
Plus, like, dude, Kennen's team fight is like really good. When Oran's not on the table,
It's insane.
dude, I'm making that Lost poster meme, no cap. Like, I'm gonna do it. Like,
it.
bring him back. I'm gonna ping all the teams, be like, where is he? Where are you
is
hiding, my
Kennen?
son?
Yeah, we got to talk to some of the coaches and players and figure out what's going on.
I just want to know their insight. Like,
Yeah,
low-key.
like, is there just something that's, like, is it hitting a brick wall because of X pick?
Yeah.
Are they playing around it because of this? You know what I mean? This is what we want to know. So hopefully
Yeah.
we get to find that out at some point in time. But I mean, we've had a variety of champions brought in. Memento's brought out a huge amount of them in the jungle.
He's the only one who's played Zach, only one who's played Sedge.
Yeah, he's the only one that's really bringing out a lot of these creative picks that are actually finding success. But other than that, I mean, it's been kind of interesting to see exactly what else has been unfolding, what else has been coming in. We have a new patch coming out as well. We've been seeing a little bit of Zuri,
Yeah, she's
Zeri.
been good.
She's been really interesting. Like, we got to see that cheese play from Misfits yesterday. The level 2 onto Scarlet.
Dude,
Flying over the
Oh
wall,
my
playing off the whole three
That is so-
three waves and then a reset. Like, they played that beautifully.
Dude, I didn't realize until I played an ARAM. What was it, like a couple days ago? I actually got Zeri. And, no, you know what it was? I was playing Viego, and I took Zeri. Because I'm like, wait, did I lock in Zeri? That doesn't sound right. I realized I was playing Viego. So I took Zeri, and then I eat over the wall. And it's like the wall where, and if you do it right, dude, you fly
can
across
go
most
right
of the map.
over.
And I'm like, what is
Yep.
this? You can go over any surface.
Yeah.
Like, literally, I watched someone in top lane on red side yesterday. I don't even remember who it was, but they just E'd over what basically looks like that mountain between this, the brush here past the Baron pit,
Yeah.
and then the blue side top turret, and just went right over the wall. I'm like, what is that?
My favorite's in the ARAMs where I've just been going over the wall too. You can take the same wall like from the ARAM angle and go way over.
Yeah, it's like a Zoe bubble.
You make it, you make it right to your first tower, and then you
That's
get to the
disgusting.
brush first, and you just get a little zap at a Q in, and then you run away,
Yeah,
and you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I got you first. You do like no damage, but it's just a
It's
a
the
mental
psychic
game.
damage,
That's right.
bro. Yeah.
It's like how is she here? And it's like, dude, I've been here. Like, I've been waiting for you.
I live here. I spawned here.
Yeah, she's an interesting champion. I don't think we've gotten to see like her full effect. Will say that Danny, on
Dan-
Evil Geniuses, on his pentakill on the champion,
Dude, if you're
definitely
watching,
showed us the mechanics
yeah.
involved and the movement and how you can really utilize it.
Dude, I don't know if it was a solo queue clip or if it was LCK, but I know Gumayushi has been like
Oh,
absolutely nuts.
God.
And he's just a disgusting 80
He
carry.
is
So
so
putting him
good.
on a champ like Zeri is probably just broken as hell.
I bet.
Yeah.
No, it's been something special, man.
This is an interesting champ.
Yeah.
She looks fun. You know what? What was it Dracos? I think was the one who said, he's like, oh, you know what? Like, I barely play this game anymore. Like, if the champion is fun to cast, if it's like makes the games hype, put him in.
I'm here for
And
it.
I'm like, you know what? That's a great point.
It is a good point because it becomes just so entertaining to see how far can you push the champion, especially when you don't know the limits yet, right? And then you start to see some of these really mechanical players that we have, throughout multiple regions, including here in the LFL, and you get to see them push it to the limit, to the max, and you don't really know what the max is until you see it, so many times over. So, I mean, it is always a fun time. And then I know you're going to be really amped. We're going to get some Ari. I know we're going to get some Ari next week. You know why we're going to get some Ari next week? Because Peng's going to play
Peng's in
it.
the league. Yeah,
Peng
no,
is an Ari
100%.
main. For all you guys out there,
Peng's not
Team
the only
Opalon
one.
or O10, but
Chocolate too.
does he play some
He
Ari?
plays. He loves
You've
Ari.
been doing your research on Ari.
Of course,
all right,
buddy,
I'll
I
take your
know.
word for it. So.
Yeah.
I
my
won't veto that one.
boys, dude. Checolad Peng, my guy Humanoid plays it. He
Yeah.
played it last year. He's one of the few people who like
True.
brought it out of nowhere, but I
Yeah.
was here for it. And yeah, it's good now.
No, it is. It
is
is good
strong.
now. I was watching Perks play it, And he was, I think it was a clip. It was a really funny clip where he just tilted the jungler. The Zed came mid, punished his mid laner for him losing out on like 4 Raptors, and then he dies, and then he also kills the mid laner as well with the Ahri because of the resets. And I was like, dude, this champion, it's actually maybe relevant now. Like we're actually gonna get to see it. Great for dives too, just weaving in and out. You get the push, you roam down to bot. It's a good answer to a lot of champions, and you can also play it into the LeBlanc matchup. That used to be something we used to see a long time ago, right? Where you can throw the charm up as the distortion's coming through, stop her right in her tracks, and
the damage
you have
doesn't
a lot
go
of
off, and you get you don't get the extra damage, but you get to land your spells, so it's still feels good. And the R resets are super fun. Like in team fights, it's especially good because you get the kill, you get an extra dash.
That's right.
Which is like.
It's huge at
it's
times.
game changing in like fights because being able to usually with Ahri you really have to think about like that third dash where it's like, okay, I got to position myself well. When am I using the first one because I only got 10 seconds to use the charges, but now it's a 15-second duration. Now every kill gets to a reset like it's
100%.
It's nuts.
Yeah, it's been very interesting to see the meta evolve so far here for us, but covered a lot of the teams so far. We talked about Scarlet. We talked about Solari, and these guys. I personally think that they're going to be a top 4 squad. Maybe not so much in the season, but I think they'll make a run in playoffs just because of the champion pool. And I don't even think we've seen all of it yet. I think is one of the big things. Now Scarlet did lose today. First loss he took on the Cassidy. I think he's played it 3 times so far. And that was really because of Shigenda decided, listen, you guys are not allowed to play the game anymore, so he had his takeover moment.
He did.
But I'm still excited to see this team because I still think they have the most coordination. I still think that Scarlet is really talented, really good. And it's on a lot of non-traditional picks like the Xerath, like the Kassadin. So another versatile player.
That one game against K-Corp where they pulled it back.
I don't know how you ever win that game, by the way. You could hear. So I think I told you I went back and listened to the comms because K Corp upload the comms. And
did they?
Yeah, they're in English too.
Okay.
And then they have like the French subtitles. And I remember hearing at some point in time. Remember when Reckless had went top with Sake when he was on the Corki because they didn't know what to do. They're like, I think we just got to backdoor an end, and you could just hear it in their voice. And they're like, I think we just got to dive them and just go, and like we got to make a play. And then Reckless dies, Sake, and I think gets one and maybe gets out. But ultimately they stopped the backdoor from happening, and that was like their only win con. They had said it because they're like, we can't team fight these guys 5v5 because I'm getting hit from a totally
another
different continent.
Yeah.
Like
Shut up, Idius.
Yeah, that's right. It was brutal, man. It was brutal. So I think that team has a lot of different weapons available to them that they can bring out, especially in best of 5 series. That I think is where they're going to be most potent.
I think that is where it's going to be pretty
ban
important.
them all.
Yeah, exactly. Because you do bring out some spicy things into not even game 1. Like game 1 you can play standard, and then games 2 and 3 you start mixing things up. You start messing with the enemy teams. Like, okay, we got to think about taking this. We got to think about taking that, dude. And it's the thing I absolutely love about like pocket picks. You know what I mean? Dude, we're gonna get to a point where I bet people are gonna start banning Aurelion Sol because Saken's gonna play it enough where they're like, oh god, now we just gotta you just drop the ego.
You got that game in just so everyone knows. Like, listen, I haven't just forgotten about you guys. I'll still pull this out when it's necessary to.
It's the reminder game. It happens.
It is.
There are players in NA, same thing, where they'll pull out the Asol, and in game 1 it wasn't banned, but then I'll tell you what, the rest of the series is taking off.
That's right. Yeah, I'm very excited to see that. I was so amped. I think I did one of those like fist pumps in the air.
I remember. Dude, I could hear it. Like, when I was watching. I was amped too. I was actually really surprised.
Yeah. No, I was so happy to see it. Just because we got to hover at Nice.
We got a couple.
The crowd went wild.
Yeah, that was when I knew. I was like, oh, wait a second.
And I was like, dude, this is his pocket pick. He could bring it out. I really wish he did there, but of course he didn't. But it doesn't matter. We got to see it anyway. And it's just something else that unlocks Saken in the mid lane.
Yeah, which LeBlanc, I mean, that's the big thing. LeBlanc Rise.
LeBlanc is the best in the league. I will say, I think Checo had a good one. Yeah, right. He did have a really good LeBlanc, but
I think so.
Saken finds picks so often, and he always takes electrocute like you typically do. And the amount of times that he finds these picks on the map that lead to objectives, that lead to a next big move for them. Man, like I don't know, like what do you do to solve that? Like they ban away his Rise because he's also like a one-trick Rise player.
You ban away TF.
Yeah, they ban away the Twisted Fate because he's going to affect the map. And then it's like, okay, do we ban away the Aurelion Sol? We haven't really seen that so much yet. But like teams might look at that, especially when we get to playoffs. And then if not, it's like, okay, well, he's got like 3 other champions, one of them being LeBlanc that he'll pull out too, and he'll just pick you apart. And it makes you play different. It makes you play different when you're on the opposing team, and you have no vision, you have no idea. Is she sitting here? Am I going to get popped? I can't walk in and ward alone. zone. Jack Troll, how many times did he get poked out of the jungle and had to backtrack, right?
Yeah, and I kind of wonder like what we're gonna see in terms of answers. I think, and this isn't just in terms of Seiken. I think in general there are like LeBlanc answers. We just haven't been seeing a lot of them. Like Malzahar is a big one. Where, every time she goes in Nethergraft, like I puked a little in my mouth when I said it, but I have to like be objective and bring it up.
Yeah.
There's also Vex. I think honestly, Vex lanes really well into LeBlanc from what I understand, especially if you manage your fear bar really well. Anytime she goes in, it's just like, oh, fear. Boom. It's kind of like the Ari charm, where it's pretty easy to time once you get used to it. And I mean, we don't see many Vex bans as it is, so it's something that we could see pop up a lot more. And Vex, I mean, is just good in general. So.
I think Vex is really good with follow up. Like you definitely need someone to set up the fight for you. But we saw it today in the last game.
That's right.
We saw it in the last game. Oh, dude, the combo. I mean,
what was it? The Keeper's Verdict, Shadow Surge. I couldn't believe it. The first time that happened, I was literally back there like, what just happened?
Yeah, this exploded. Just gone. Just thrown off the map.
Dude, I'll tell you what, Aphelios, I know Jinx is better because of the range, but dude, if you walk into Aphelios' range, that guy's a problem.
He is, especially since he takes Gale Force.
Yeah,
there's a lot of burst. Yeah, definitely, but there's just a lot of burst.
Yeah.
A lot of burst that comes in. It makes it really hard to play the game when he has a lead. We saw that with Crown Shot today.
That's the interesting thing too.
6-7-1.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about like Aphelios to me, where like keep in mind we're not at pro level, but I always see here NA same thing in like the lower levels of play tier 2 and stuff like that. We always see the Aphelios answer into Jinx, and I think part of the reason it ends up doing really well is because Aphelios is stronger in lane.
True.
And it's something that teams will play towards, and you end up putting Jinx like behind. But it's interesting because of like, I guess it depends on your philosophy of how you like to play the game, because there are people who will say, not as much activity early, play defensive, scale, be extremely strong later. Would you end up picking things like, I don't know, Lulu, Diana as like a jungle support duo, which blows my mind every time. But then my response to that is always like, okay, but what if the enemy team doesn't want to do that? What if they do stuff in the early game and they end up smashing you? Like, keep in mind, I understand like Jinx's value. She's really strong at the moment here. It is just interesting to see how often I've seen her lose to Aphelios.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It happens quite a bit, and it has to be piloted correctly. But this champion is so good. You can just buy tier 2 boots, and you can put all of your upgrades into AD. And you can have the same amount of AD as the champion that might have a pickaxe or a noon quiver. And you have the movement speed. Exactly. You have the attack speed, you have the movement speed, and it makes it very difficult for you to play the game. So at times I think people don't have an answer for it. Sometimes they do. Sometimes you can play the Jinx into the Aphelios matchup and it's played okay, but it's just really about the balance of what do you want to take, what do you want to prioritize, because we almost never see the first pick on the Aphelios. It's always usually priority on the Jinx, and a lot of it has to do with lethal tempo and just how well she ends up scaling, and how just if you position well, and as long as there isn't any backline threat like a Camille locking you down, or other champions that can get back there and kick you in, because who was that? I think it was Woolite that was playing the Jinx today, and he was getting thrown in by Cabo. Ooh, baby, those kicks, man.
Every time the path, and you guys were calling it on the cast too, every time he would just path in these weird angles where he's just, because there's no vision too, because they've been like just getting slapped around most of the game, and he just ends up coming from like the behind in the jungle where it's like it just doesn't get any easier for him.
I know, man.
It's so painful.
It's rough at times, but
I have a question about that. It's just random. I saw someone bring it up. So, can you cleanse Lee Sin Flash?
And CC, right? It's not a suppress, because you can. The only things you can't cleanse is a suppress and a knockup.
So what does that do though? Can you like cleanse and then flash? You
should be able to.
Okay.
Or maybe you do need QSS. Is it a knockup?
No, it's a knockback. Pretty sure.
Because it does proc Yasuo ultimate. That's why I'm not sure, because I know Woolite did use his cleanse, but he didn't get the flash off.
I think it's a weird timing thing, because I've seen people do it.
Because I know you can 100% QSS flash. Because I remember I showed you that Emperor
play on
you did. Versus Spirit and Fnatic years ago. But I don't know. It's a really weird one. Like, you have to just like respect flash. Like, as soon as you see the Lee Sin Q in, he's not queuing in just to do damage. Like, he's queuing in to kick flash you. And who's the target? It's the Jinx.
It's always Jinx.
It's going to be the AD carry that's going to carry the fight. So. Like, immediately it sucks, because like maybe he doesn't follow up, maybe he doesn't ward hop, but you just have to respect it. You have to kick, you have to flash. I think
it just sucks because like when you do, and
or stopwatch
next
right
5 minutes, I can't be on the same screen as Lee Sin.
I know. It's like, where's the Lee Sin? Is he behind us? And Kabashar got behind them so much today. There really is a difference, and I think we got to hear this from one of the junglers in LCS, where Closer talked about it. He's like, listen, man, he's like, in some of these big moments, you have these tiny little windows to make these opportunities happen, and these windows can make or break the game, and you have to have the confidence to be able to do it. And there's some Lee Sin players that have that confidence, and there's some that don't. And the ones that follow up on the cue, find that timing, kick flash in, they can win the game, they can win the fight. And those are obviously moments that we'll always forever highlight, because they're the game changers, they're the playmakers.
Yes, that's why I love Lee Sin, man. Like, it just doesn't get any more hype than that kind of thing. Where like,
so fun.
like I remember in week 1 too, where I think, oh my gosh, I think it was BDSA versus, what team is Chayak on? Misfits, right?
Chayak is...
Yeah, Chayak and Irrelevant are the sole leaders for Misfits. So it was against Misfits. And I remember saying they got... I think all I know is it was a Victor, where I was like, yo, Shio needs to kick the Victor. Like, that's the only way they win this fight. And then, like, he literally does it.
Oh, he does kick him right in the middle of the river.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was literally... No, that was the game they lose. With that was the game I might be mixing it up with, because that was Chayak. But I know it was Shio. And I know Shio made the kick, and it was like an insane play, and it literally won BDSA the game.
Yeah.
And I love it. I eat it up, man. That's my stuff. That's my... I can't swear, but you know what I mean.
I know, man. No, it's been really fun. I think the meta we have right now, as much as things slow down in the mid game, like, I love the fact that we have at least really strong, really aggressive junglers in the mix. And we're also getting, a bit of a variety. Other people are bringing out these Jarvans when necessary. Immenso, who knows, what we'll get next week. It's
Nunu.
We're going through the list. So
yeah.
Oh, God, I can only imagine if Beatdown's on cast and we get a Nunu, guys.
Oh, it's over. Oh, my God.
I'll just let him solo cast.
I'll do it. Oh, my God. Like, I think it's playable, but, well, okay, maybe. I don't know. I have to, I remember asking, actually, it was Fnatic who I ended up asking, where he's saying, like, it's kind of playable, and I'm like, okay, I'll take that.
Yeah.
But, like, it's not ideal. There's, like, a million better options. I'm like, okay, whatever, close it out.
Yeah. No, it's
we need Hunter in the LFL.
He's definitely you gotta just be cheesy with him, right?
You do, yeah. You just gotta gank constantly. Don't ever,
annoying.
if you're playing against him, he can't have scuttles. Don't let him do it, or you'll never realize the gank.
Movement speed, yeah.
Oh my God, dude, the amount of times I've like taken scuttle, and then I tell them like, yo, give me a sec, because you need to. I want to take the shield off with my W. It's on a long cooldown early. I'm like, yo, I ping my W. Give me 10 seconds, and then once it's back up, I snowball onto the scuttle, the speed boost comes up. It's ridiculous. The enemy never knows it's coming. They're never ready for it.
Yeah, never ready for it.
No.
Well, I don't think we'll get a Nunu, but if we do, Beatdown will blow up. He'll
will.
Definitely be very excited. He'll be very happy about
We'll
it.
see. Oh, he's getting nerfed, actually. That's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. I didn't get that.
Again, any other questions that you guys have, if you want to get them in right now. We've been going for a good amount of time now. Anything else that you want to hit on?
Okay, I know we talked about wanting to do rapid fire questions, so I did you a solid. I actually prepared some.
You prepped
for
it?
I prepped some for you. Yeah, so this is gonna be tough though, because you meme about vision stats, but these are stats questions.
Oh, they're actual correct fact stats.
Yeah, correct factual stats.
Okay,
so let's see if you can keep up.
Okay.
All right, so let's see. What champion has the highest pick ban percentage? You don't need the actual percent, just who.
Just who?
Just give me
Jinx?
Yeah.
Okay, let's
93.3%. Something ridiculous. All right. This one, name 3 champions. Okay, by the way, these stats, I have to preface it with don't include today's games.
Okay.
Because I was looking during the matches and they haven't updated yet.
Okay.
So everything up until yesterday. Name 3 champs with a 100% win rate.
With a 100% win rate?
That haven't lost.
Was Kassadin.
Yeah, that's one.
Oh, wow, this is really difficult, actually. Because I was looking at some of the stats. Oh, wow, that is such a hard question.
Yeah, you can do it.
Gwen's lost, right? Gwen's lost.
She is not on this list. Yeah, she has lost. Visitachi was, I think, until today, the one who lost on it. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. They're going to be champions that are like 1 or 2 played, so it's
yeah,
really
that's what makes it tough.
Like, think of like who they could be. It's not going to be popular champions that have come in. I don't even have any guesses for those ones. You're gonna have to bail me out.
All right, I'll give you a hint for one. There's one I can't believe you haven't guessed because it was a big narrative.
It's a big narrative.
Yeah, we talked about it a lot after week 1.
Oh, Kennen?
Yes.
No. Oh, it's Vex. Is Vex and Kennen?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Nice.
Vex is still undefeated. That's right.
That's true. So even if we did count today, Vex still hasn't lost. She's gonna be like 8-0 or something.
Yeah, and she's barely prioritized anymore.
Yeah.
We had assumed that was because people had answers, but yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know anymore.
I just
couldn't
forgot
tell you.
about the Kennen. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah, that's
it's not here anymore, so I just didn't think
exactly.
that. It's
No,
been
yeah.
played.
When I looked it up, I'm like, oh damn, it's actually never lost. That makes it even more perplexing than
Yeah,
to
yeah,
play
yeah.
it. All right. Which AD carry, like the player, has the highest kill participation?
Highest KP.
Yeah, in the league.
Who do they play around the most? It's not going to be Reckless.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be probably Crown Shot.
Okay, look at you.
Crown Shot?
Crown shot.
Let's go.
It's not by much too. It's like 0.4%, but it's crown
Oh,
shot.
all right, we'll take it. Who was the close second? Do you know?
I don't remember. I'll look later and let you know. But it's funny we talk about Jack Troll. He was actually the highest KP overall.
That I believe for
Yeah,
sure.
Which is I don't know if that changed today, but yeah,
He
he's.
did have a tough Braum game, so maybe, but
That is a good point. All right, so the next one is what player has the most kills in a single game?
it's going to be tied, I think, for this one because I looked this one up.
As far as I know, it's not.
No,
tied.
no, it's not. But he has both of them, and it's Azza.
No.
What?
The most kills in a game?
Oh, yeah, it's got to be Azza. No?
No.
He's got 11. He's got 11 on Kaisen.
There's
11
someone who
on
has
Jhin.
more than 11. Yeah, that's true. He did show up when I looked it up, but there's someone who has more.
Ah, damn.
Yeah.
Who is it? I don't-
Shigenda.
Oh, is this
On the
Shigenda?
Gwen, he went 13 and something.
Was it yesterday?
I think it was.
Ah, man. I looked it up. See, I looked up that stat before.
Before going to the
games.
broadcast, yeah,
yeah.
that sucks. Okay, I got
That's a
two.
tough one.
There's two more questions. So,
Okay, hit me.
which two players have gotten pentakills in spring so far?
Well, without a doubt, Reckless.
Easy one.
And it was a Kennen player. It was a Kennen player.
Yeah.
It was Aggressivu.
Yes.
Yes.
Damn. All right. I thought that would stump you. Nice. Who has the highest KDA?
The highest KDA. It was Cody's son. Before yesterday.
Before today. Technically,
sorry.
yesterday's counted.
Okay, so I'm probably gonna say Cody's son.
No.
Did you have that bad of a game yesterday?
Maybe. He was still pretty high on the list, but it's Reckless.
Ah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say
KDA
like
player,
the
oh
Mew
my
Yeah,
God.
that's why I thought you'd go to
Damn.
that.
It was Cody's son before this week because I remember
okay.
he only had 9 deaths period before this week,
Oh my
which was
God.
pretty insane for X amount of games, right?
Yeah, we've played what?
He was
how
like
many
27, 9, and like I don't know whatever amount of assists or something, but
Mhm.
not anymore, I guess.
No, Reckless is he's been doing good.
Yeah.
Especially last week and this week. What pentakill? He got a lot of kills last week.
Dude, he did get a lot of kills. Yeah, the crowd just boosted it. You know what I mean? It was
Crowd
just a
boosted us,
snowball
too.
effect. Oh, dude, did they ever? Yeah, casting in front of that crowd was insane. I could only imagine what it was like being in that arena with that energy.
Yeah.
Maybe some of you guys were even there because it was
Maybe
incredible,
we get
right?
crossovers, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, shout out production for getting his game sound or the crowd sound.
Oh, the crowd sound,
That
yeah.
was great.
I was hitting new levels because of the crowd sound
We were
in my
hitting 20s.
ear. Like I was definitely getting too hyped in the early to mid stages of the game. Like I wouldn't normally explode
Yep.
that much, but man, you hear that entire crowd behind KC, and it's pretty hard to hold in those 7s, 8s, 9s, and 10s. So
Yeah.
it was definitely an incredible time, and no, I can't wait till we get back to LAN so we get to see that crowd again. But
God, yeah. Bro.
No,
Just
this was
saying,
great.
OTP, bring us on. I might as well shoot my
Might
shot,
as well
know?
shoot the shot.
Yeah, exactly. I have another thing I was actually going to ask you.
Okay.
Just need you to be entertaining for like 10 seconds while I look it up.
Yeah, I'm being entertaining. Hello, everyone in the chat. Hope you're having a good time. The first episode of Beyond the Nexus. It's been great. It's been a fantastic time so far, and we're halfway through the season, which to me is insane because I remember saying to all the talent here in Toronto, I was like, this is going to fly by, and
Yeah.
before we know it, we're going to be in playoffs, and
Dude,
we're halfway through.
We're halfway through. Or technically halfway in like a day.
Yep.
It's kind
Going
of
into
insane.
week 6.
Yeah, and 3 more weeks? Or no, 4 more weeks. It's week 6 to 9.
Because it goes to week 9, right? 9
Yeah,
weeks
and
of play.
then playoffs.
Then playoffs, baby. Best of
Dude.
5s.
Yes. Oh my God, we were talking about that too earlier while you were casting. I'm really amped for best of 5s
Yeah.
and all that. It's gonna be a great time.
Definitely.
Okay, so the thing I did want to bring up is that I think one of the last things we should probably do is just talk about next week's matches and just what we're doing
Sure.
in general.
Yeah.
So day 1, we have K-Corp Mirage, which we already talked about. Mirage definitely, or rather K-Corp definitely wanting to
Wanna get
redeem
revenge
themselves.
there. Yeah, they should have won that game.
They should have won that game.
It was a throw. It was an overextension.
Oh yeah.
Mirage, I think, do have the potential to still upset again because I
Maybe,
think
yeah.
they have been better. The big problem we had with them in the early weeks was their mid game. The mid game was
That's true.
sloppy, but I feel like that has been fixed as of late. Now it's actually the late game execution and the team fights that's been hindering them. So I think that they could get through it because Memento is the type of player that I think could match 1-1-3.
I think I guess the jungle matchup in general will be really important. Like what actual junglers get through. Because I remember the last time maybe I'm thinking of a different game where there was a game where Minto played Jarvan where he was just not having a good time, dude. All he was doing, he was basically using Cataclysm reflexively or defensively rather.
Yeah, and then flashing away or
He had to
flag and
flash
dragging out.
exactly, and those situations end up being pretty tough. But that one should be good.
Yeah.
BDS Solary should be really good too. Just because as time goes on, I think Solary living up to the expectations you were talking about. And I agree with you. I think they will be like really good. BDSA, same story. Another team with a lot of potential. And I mean, these two teams are on the higher end here. Probably both going to make playoffs. It's just going to be a matter of like placing because first and second seed get a bye.
Sure.
But that'll be an interesting matchup as well. Game Ward LDLC is the most interesting for me, literally because. Game Ward and Gamers Origin have been so interesting to me because week one, and actually today's matchup was that rematch of week one. It was the longest game in week one. It was ridiculous.
Yep.
It was like 48 minutes, something insane like that. Second longest game we had, but they both, Gamers Ward in particular, look so much better than they did in week one, and it's been like just great seeing. And I think one of them will make playoffs.
Yeah. I think one of them will. Can never really count out Chachi.
No.
Neither can the fans. They're always there with the
every
support.
time Chachi carry. Dude, I fell into the hype. I started posting it too.
Did you too? I mean, it's hard not to, right?
Yeah, copy pastas, it's fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how they do. But they do need wins because they're now 4-6, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So they need wins from the middle of the pack here to separate themselves going into these future weeks. So yeah, they have some big weeks ahead of them, and that one will be a big one versus BDSA. Sure, beat Oplon today, but
LDLC.
They have not looked great. It's first LDLC, sorry.
Yeah, which will be interesting.
Oh, that'll be a tough one.
It'll be tough because like LDLC are still. Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, I have a feeling LDLC will either take it if it suits them, or
I'm sure
just
they would.
not let that one go, just because that's like a big thing that I still think like we should just not be letting this champ through, or you need an actual game plan to deal with it in the early game.
Yeah.
Vitality B Gamers Origin is an interesting one too, because we got that question earlier. Will Vitality stay on top? They'll probably beat Gamers Origin, but Gamers Origin is a team that have been looking better. I've become a bigger fan of Ronaldo. I think
he's good.
Or maybe it was today's game I think was a little tough for him, and Veteran actually pointed out on the cast too because they had what was it? It was TF, and I think it was they had a tank top lane. I think that was I can't remember what tank it was, but the point was TF only had one lane to play for, and it was the AD carry, and
it was for the Jinx, right?
Yeah, it was for the Jinx. And that was a really hard game to play because your only threat was that Jinx.
Yeah, once she's dead, like you have no more damage.
Yeah, and that's what ended up kind of hurting them, I think. So if you have the Twisted Fate, usually that's why you see like really strong side lane champs like Camille or Gwen or something like that, where you can set it up a lot more and have more options for this TF to play. I still think Ronaldo has been like really good.
I agree.
After week one, so he's a player I'm interested in.
I mean, he had a Akali game versus KC. You remember? He solo won it, took out
Reckless
when he was on Vayne.
Yep.
Yeah, no, he's definitely a fun player to watch over. He can make a lot of plays.
The Zoe game yesterday was good.
Zoe was so controlled. He was disgusting with it.
I rarely see Zoe players play like that, where they don't play for the bubble, they just play for the chunk with the Q.
And then the bubble, we touched on that last night, where it was really good because once you chunk out the AD carry, one more paddle star is all it takes. So like you can't really stay there anymore, right? You're forced to back. Or you're forced for your team to like walk up as a wall.
Yeah, I mean, Vitality B definitely will probably have like answers or something along those lines. It'll be a good challenge for them. That's another important game I think for another team who was on like the lower end of the standings.
Sure.
Because I don't think Game Awards are 4-6. I don't think Gamers Origin is much better.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, Oplon Misfits. Anyways, let's talk about the next day. I mean, man,
it's
what
tough.
are we supposed to say?
I want to address something too, because from a broadcast point of view, it's not a disrespect thing with Team Oplon. It's the fact that we have nothing else to say other than Pang is a rookie. He's good, but he hasn't been able to do anything. Bruno's on Lee Sin. He can make some plays. It's just like, the team is 0-10. When you talk to the coaches and you talk to the players from the other teams, and they're like, listen, like, we don't prepare for these matches really. Like we prepare for our other match. Like that tells you that they're probably not getting good scrims if any LFL teams are even scrimming them. You know what I mean? Like it's a really tough spot to be in Oplon, and I can only imagine what it's like being in their spot right now.
It's so hard.
Because they want to get a win. They're trying, but it's not ultimately doing anything for them, and they don't really have a big voice like we talked about. You feel like on that team,
definitely.
leadership, but who's going to join a team that's also, at this point in time, 0-10.
Yeah, I think at this point, someone from that team would probably have to step up and kind of take that role, just because.
But can anyone take that role? I guess,
don't know.
right?
I mean, a lot of these are players or new additions, that kind of thing. If that's not the kind of person you are developing to that person, it's hard. I think like at this point, it's pretty safe to say we can chalk up spring for Oplon.
Well, yeah, they're not getting playoffs.
No, exactly. And the only thing left they can really hope for is like playing spoiler, getting some wins, trying to find their identity so that they can actually come back stronger in summer and not end up facing relegation.
Yeah. I would imagine that team would probably be making some changes potentially.
If they can, maybe.
It was a tough spot. I mean, when they came into the league, they're, LFL.
They got the promotion match.
They got the promotion. They made it through, and then their team got picked apart. So what can you do at that spot, right? Where Darluk's the only one that comes in, stays on the team. So I definitely feel for those guys. I know they're putting in the work. It's definitely not a disrespect thing, but we kind of are all rooting that you guys get a win. So
yeah, dude, even the crowd was at Nice.
Yeah,
where it almost dude, I was hyped actually.
Yeah, that was actually probably one of the most entertaining games of the season. Funny enough.
Yeah, definitely, dude. Give me more Pang Vagar.
Yeah, no, he's played a couple matches of it, so we'll see what we can do. Any closing thoughts? First episode.
Yeah, true.
Beyond the Nexus, dude. We're gonna be doing this every Thursday. We're gonna talk to coaches, players.
Oh man,
bringing on some segments. Show's only gonna get better over time here. We just kind of wanted to start it off halfway through the season, ramping up the playoffs. Matches are more important. So I mean, any closing thoughts?
Just nothing outside of the stuff we've already talked about. Like it's been interesting for the most part. The league has been super competitive.
Very.
And again, like when we look at week 1 and look at teams now, things have changed up a lot. The standings are honestly looking pretty good. I think there are probably still a good amount of ties for certain positions. And like there's a lot of teams who can make a playoff shot. And that's why like I'm just excited to see how, again, like I keep looking at Gamers Origin and Gamers War just because of how they've been kind of figuring everything out and really started to improve their gameplay.
Sure.
Looking at teams like LDLC, who I always thought were at the top for so long and it was like definitive. But now they've shown that they are mortal in the way that they play and they end up losing to other teams.
Yep.
Media Say Solar. You look across the board, there's a lot of great teams. So like it's
Definitely
really
is.
cool. And I also wonder what the meta is going to be like next week because I'm realizing week by week there are a lot of things that end up changing. And so what's the next week? Is it really going to be Ari? Is it going to be Pick
A lot
Ban?
of changes, yeah.
Guys,
a lot
if you're
of
listening.
Changes.
Oh yeah, that
12.5 that's coming out. Not
I think we'll
obviously
be
won't
on
be here.
4, right?
He will be, but I just mean like there will be a lot of changes before playoffs. So there'll be a lot of new champions in the mix,
playoffs,
maybe.
Yeah.
It'll definitely be a fun time. So we'll see how it comes together. This was the very first episode of Beyond the Nexus. This should also be re-uploaded at some point in time. If you missed any of it, and you want to go back and watch it through. You should be able to find that on YouTube, and that is YouTube/Northern Arena LOL. And you'll also find all of the games on there from today and every single week so far here in the season. Make sure you follow the channel here on Twitch. We'll be live next week with all of our matches and games for week number 6. And we're getting closer and closer to the end of the season here for us, but still got some season games left, so hopefully you guys will tune in for that. That's going to do it here for the podcast, though. This has been myself, Visions. I've been joined by Beatdown. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for episode 1, and we'll see you guys next week for some more games. Nice job. I don't know how long it was.
Probably good. I think over an hour.
Maybe.
Because it's what 6:18 now. I didn't look when we started.
Didn't either.
I don't know. I could have kept going, but I was afraid like it was too long.